This meeting to order. Mayor Bauer,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rennick,
Here.
Alderman Madre,
Here.
Alderman McDermott,
Here.
Alderwoman Jones,
Here.
Alderwoman Joseph.
Here.
Madam Mayor, your help.
Alderwoman Jones, would you please lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. And next, Pastor Browdy from Church of the Living God, if you'd like to lead us in our invocation, please.
Good to see you all this evening. I hope your day was full of joy and laughter. I know mine was full of many emotions. So it's an honor to be here and it's to bless you in this season. So Father, we thank you and praise you. I thank you that you are continuing to put everyone in the right place at the right time. Lord, I thank you that your wisdom prevails, just as you said in Proverbs 2:6. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. And so I thank you for just creative ideas and witty inventions for every solution that needs to be found. You already know it, and I thank you for that wisdom right now this evening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. All right, do we have any conflicts of interest to note from council? All right, next is public comment. And the first on the list is Miss Cindy Roberts.
I don't know why I'm so nervous, because like everybody in here is my family, so I don't know why I'm so nervous.
Ms.
I just,
Roberts, can you state your?
Cindy Roberts, 16708 Terminus Family Pass. I own Way West Grill and Pizzeria. I just wanted to come up and say, we had a really fun day on Senior Skip Day. Learned a lot of things, but I wanted to recognize what a great job our police force did. I don't know that everybody realizes it, but these guys are our family. Just like you guys are our family, these guys are our family too. They care about us, they come and check on us, they come, you know, they know what's happening because they care, not just because they're paid to do so. I saw a post on Facebook the other night, talking about the chief of police, position, and I guess I just thought that, Matt would move into that. I know he's kind of been working and doing different things. But I kind of just wanted to say that he's a really good guy and he really cares about this community. He doesn't just look, I mean, he's not just looking for a place to retire. He knows about our kids and he knows about the grandkids and he knows about that little boy over there who's always in the road and they're having to get him out. And that just means a lot to those of us who rely on them for our safety and, you know, to know that when I pull into the city limits of Jamaica Beach, maybe not in my neighborhood, but when I pull into the city limits of Jamaica Beach, I know that we're good here and we're safe here. And I know this is goofy, but from the get-go, I have always felt very safe and secure at Run Deliveries. Yeah, I came from work, so I've got to go back. But I just wanted to say that, you know, I don't know exactly what the process is. I know that everyone is looking at different applicants. And Jake and I don't say a lot because, you know, we just hide and watch. But whenever we feel very passionate about something, we do want to speak up. And Matt's a good guy. Officer Nolan is a good guy. Reggie's amazing. I mean, we have got a staff and a half here. And that's all.
Thank you very much.
I gotta go make some pizzas.
Miss Diana Sharon.
Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Diana Sharon, 16507 Trinidad Way. I am running for one of the open seats on the city council. So I hope that I'll get a chance to meet everybody, learn everybody. I've been here 18 years, 9 years full-time, 9 years as a weekender. I was in business for 30 years, so I think, I've got some good analytical qualifications. I know there's the big three that everyone's concerned about: infrastructure, STR, beach. I'd like to hear from everybody what their positions are, and I'll be honest about what mine are. So anyway, I hope that I'll just get a chance to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Mark Sloan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Sloan. I live at 16531 Jamaica Cove Road, and I'm here just to introduce myself to people that don't know me. I've been a full-time resident here for 27 years, and seen a lot of things going on. So, but I want to get involved. Time to just mouthing off. It's time to do something. So, I want to suit up, show up, and like to get to know y'all better. Meet and greet stuff. I'm not going to do any politicking right now, but hope to see y'all at the meet and greet. Thank you.
All right, Kendall, Mr. Francis, we have some emails in.
Yes, Your Honor. Reginald Batiste, 4010 Strawberry Court. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to speak regarding the police chief opening. I believe that interim Chief Saratan has what it takes to lead this department. No one coming in would have known what to do and how to do it for senior skip day, and I believe the interim chief mastered it. If we want to have a good summer on the beach, I believe that council should consider keeping what we have instead of making changes that we don't need for the department as well as for the city. I hope that interim Chief Saratan can continue to do the work we know and see that he can do instead of getting someone new. Thank you. Ben Espy, 16607 Flamingo Way. I would like to make a comment on the police chief position that will be available. I believe in my heart that Matt Saratan embodies what Jamaica Beach is all about. He cares deeply for our community and its residents, and which is evident in everything he does. He has been immersed in our community for years and knows the majority of its residents and the lifestyle we love. He has proven that he loves this JB and takes great pride in ensuring the safety of the city, property, and the residents. He would make an excellent choice for police chief, and I'm aware he has the support of the majority of the residents. He has expressed that he would love to keep the police department on its current track, except pour himself more into the day-to-day operations and protecting our fine community. How could that be a bad thing? In my opinion, he has expressed his love for being here and the community to which he serves. Please consider him for our full-time police chief. Deborah Tabbert, Beachcomber. My comments concern Section N of the proposed STR ordinance outlining suspension of STR permits for any violations at the owner's property. If your guest is issued a ticket for X violation, they are likely to just pay the citation and be disgruntled because their vacation costs them an extra $500 fine. That payment fine results in a conviction for the individual, but also goes towards a conviction on record for your STR. 3 of them in a 12-month period, and JB pulls your permit. There doesn't seem to be any procedure for an owner to be notified of a violation at their home, nor an opportunity to try and resolve a guest issue before a citation is issued to a guest. We as owners have no opportunity to have due process for any intervention of a guest if a guest just decides to pay a ticket that results in a conviction. This is a problem. Also, there isn't a civil penalty for a full or part-time homeowner if a guest at their home violates any ordinance. This is a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution under the Equal Protection Act. The state of Texas issues you a driver's license and a registration to operate a motor vehicle. This constitutes a permit with the state of Texas. If you have a friend or family member that receive a couple of citations for speeding in your vehicle and just pays the fine that results in a conviction, are you then subject to the state of Texas arbitrarily revoking your driver's license and car registration because of actions of another in your property? The state has no legal authority to revoke your license or registration based on how many citations another is issued or convicted of in your property. Why then would a municipality have any such authority to revoke your permit based on how many citations another person is issued or convicted of? Any attempt to accomplish this by ordinance will likely result in a legal challenge. Andrea Spearing, 16617 Jamaica Beach Road. Thank you for removing the fencing on the beach. However, There is still fencing blown into the dunes after notifying the city of this several weeks ago. I have also noticed some lengths of wire buried in the sand in areas where the fencing was located. There was a police presence during the morning, but it was insufficient for the crowd of rowdy folks that showed up. There were lots of visitors walking through and in the dunes, urinating on private property as well as in the dunes, and generally breaking multiple city ordinances. With the information about Senior Skip Day aiming for JB known at least the evening, and the fact that San Luis Pass would be closed starting on the 7th, the city should have been better prepared. The scenario Senior Skip Day is what happens when you allow anyone and everyone to come to the only drivable beach on the west end. San Luis Pass will be closed at least for Memorial Day. Ha, is this what we want for our city? Though there was trash left on the beach after the rush to vacate the beach following gunshots, please do not return trash cans to the beach. Previous weekend crowds have, for the most part, been considerate and taken trash home. Why is the city still proposing a beach user fee per Kendall's posted report? Bathrooms on the beach are a hard no. The test project with this was a huge failure. As a homeowner in JB, would you want to stare at one, have the waste from one pollute the area and or your property? Not to mention issues with waves, wind, and polluting our beaches and the Gulf. We have no locations for amenities on the beach. If amenities are needed, put them at City Hall parking area. STRs. This year's registration and re-registration has been a disaster. Hard to navigate, comments not visible, managing companies not being listed when information is given, STR numbers not compatible with STR platforms, to mention a few. I know new software is a learning curve, but this would have been comical, if not so frustrating, and with the stakes being so high for homeowners that rent all or part of the time. The proposed ordinances refers to the 2018 IBC on page 1. It would be better phrased as the current IBC followed by the city. Otherwise, the ordinance would need to be amended every time the IBC is updated. Why are room dimensions required as in A11? No room dimensions or bedroom dimensions are required for permitting a home in JB. I understand not wanting closets to be bedrooms, but older homes in JB do have smaller bedrooms by today's standards. Likewise, parking is only required for STRs and not other homes in JB. Does your new 3,500 square foot home have to show off street parking for 20 people? I still don't approve of inspections of STRs without a warrant.
Time.
That's all.
Thank you. Okay, next, special presentation. Basically, we just wanted to take a moment to thank the police force. And Matt, did you want to talk about the stats now or during your report?
I can talk to them during my report.
Okay,
That'd be better.
but basically, I just wanted everybody to be aware of how much our police force did do on Senior Skip Day, how they went above and beyond. I don't know if y'all know it or not, but Officer Nolan, kid ran with a gun, actually dropped the gun, and Nolan actually chased him and, I guess captured him. So, definitely above the normal call of duty for our officers here. So they really did work hard, and I know we had some issues with people trespassing, but man, they were on duty and hustling, and I just wanted to take a moment for city council to have a chance to express their gratitude and let everybody know how much it meant that they were all here.
Give them a hand.
Does any other council member like to
I was
make
gonna
any special
do it in my,
Yeah, me too.
my,
report?
But again, thank you. I used to direct operations for some of these events for hardboard on the beaches for Splash Day and Kappa and Senior Skip Day, and we had a giant staff to direct the parking and make sure everyone's going where they're supposed to and keep people out of areas they're not supposed to. And y'all have none of that. So the police did that part and their own part and kept everybody safe and got the beach shut down, which I know some people think that's controversial, but if y'all would have let that go all day, the nightmare in this neighborhood at night would have been beyond what you can think of. So To the T, I think y'all executed as good as possible with the amount of people you had. And you didn't have weeks of planning for this, you had a couple days, and I thought y'all brought it together really good, so congratulations and thank
Yes.
you.
I agree.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you again, and please thank all the officers. I know it was a trying day. I know it was a trying day for all of you. All right, next is announcements. We have a salsa making class on Saturday, March 22nd, from 2 to 5 p.m. Then our beach nourishment is due to begin, and I think probably either Robert or Kendall are gonna get more of an update of that in their reports. And then also a note, please get your gloves and your shovels and your trimmers out. JBIC is sponsoring another annual citywide cleanup. If none of you have participated in these, it's a great way to get to know your neighbors. It's a great way to make an impact on the city. And I know in the past, when it's finished up, it was a noticeable difference. So please try to come out for that day and help clean up our city. JBIC does a great job organizing it, and there's hot dogs afterwards.
What day is that?
That is Saturday, March 29th. So, 2 weeks and 2 days away. Yeah, please put it on your calendars. All right, City Administrator Francis.
Thank you, Mayor. As you alluded to, beach nourishment, so it's the long-awaited project. It is going to begin March 24th. We'll start seeing crews here setting up signage along the beach. And we're told to expect dump trucks of sand to start arriving on Wednesday the 26th. And they're telling us to anticipate between 100 to 150 trucks a day. So
Oh my gosh.
it will be extensive. They're looking at this in 2 phases. The first phase will be Buccaneer West. The trucks will be bringing the river sand that we had approved. So they'll be coming in from the west, turning south on Buccaneer. And so the east from Buccaneer East will remain open to the public. And they will start on the far west end and start working that way. Phase 2 will be basically vice versa. They're gonna start bringing sand from the Texas something facility to the east. And turning, yeah, Texas Terminal, that's right. And they'll be turning on 15 Mile Road to enter and exiting on Buccaneer.
Okay.
This is a Monday through Friday project, so the use of the beach will be uninterrupted on Saturday and Sunday, but during the Monday through Friday, portions of the beach will be closed for that, and we'll try to,
Do we have plenty of barricades?
that's all in the contractors.
Oh, they're doing it. Okay,
They
good.
take care of the signage. We did have signs made and stuff in preparation. Originally, they told us we had to provide it.
Okay.
But, so the contractors will be handling that.
Will it be any part of the beach open? The whole beach will be shut down, or?
From Buccaneer West will be closed for the first phase, and so
Okay.
that the smaller section there between Buccaneer and 15 Mile Road will be open.
With that many trucks, is it thinking about our police and,
But we've already had conversations
you know,
with,
just as far as just practical as traffic direction?
well, that's what we've had those discussions about.
Barricades and signs.
Beach user fee plan, we did receive the informal comments and we're reviewing them now. I've forwarded those to you for your review. The county bond project is something, the engineers have sent what they will be recommending to the county as our portion. It's a $1.3 million project to regrade the drainage ditches, and reset culverts, basically from Highway 3005 north to Ponce de Leon, the entirety of the city. Again, but that's still early in the project, but that is what they will be recommending.
Do we have any estimate of timeline?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right.
You now know exactly what I know.
Okay,
Mailboxes, that has been something that we've been struggling with. So our blue outgoing mailbox, they have told me that, it is on order. The, part of it has arrived, the mechanism, but they're waiting for the physical box, and then they will get that installed. But also, we've had complaints that people have tried to get post office boxes, and there are none available. And the post office says they need to come visit with the city about that, and it's our problem. So I finally was able to track that down, and they do recommend that for us to add 3 additional cluster boxes, and they have about 16 slots in them each. However, approximate cost for each of them is $2,400 each of them.
each cluster box?
Yes, and then we're going to have to
2,400 each in 24 boxes?
16 boxes, 16 mail slots with 2 parcel boxes. Yeah, they'd be identical to
And
each of
that's
the clusters.
$2,400?
Yeah, so a little over $7,000. But
Does
then we,
anybody know how many we have now?
I don't have a clue. Together,
I've never counted.
we got to count. But we also it would require a additional concrete slab to mount them to, so we're neighborhood at $10,000.
The cover, to
Can
build
we-
the cover.
Can we add to the next time's agenda? I mean, we've talked about what it'll take to truly solve our issue would be to put boxes all through the neighborhood.
I've had that conversation. I don't think you're gonna want the red
Cost of
tape-
that.
The red tape that's gonna go with that. And
Cause changing addresses and everything that will involve.
yes.
Can we put it on the
Yeah.
agenda for a
The other
council
thing you need to
discussion?
know is, we are supposed to be in charge of the keys for those boxes. They said the HOA, and I said, we're not an HOA, we're a city, and they said, we are the ones who should be organizing those keys and giving them out to, and that's,
What would you say the post office does?
Well,
How did we lose it?
Well, they're
Great
in the,
online.
we're in the news right now, the city of Galveston, our postal service for
Yes.
Galveston County is under watch right now because our Congressman Randy Weber has put that forward to Congress about the way our mail has been handled, so
There's a
that's.
sign at the post office on 23rd Street that says, please don't complain to us about the post office on 59th Street.
well,
Right.
Anyway, I mean, we know it's a continual issue,
Yes,
and, I mean, we either are gonna have to get more boxes,
yes.
but figure out a way to better manage it too, because right now, people just stop using the box, but they don't ever turn in the key, we don't know it's not being used. And, my guess is we probably got another 40 unused boxes out there that we just don't have a way to track and record.
Anything about having rekey boxes?
I bet the guy that delivers mail knows which ones aren't being used.
well, they've,
Mayor, can I mention that, I saw a blue mailbox, outgoing mailbox in front of Alex's Seafood, so that's probably the closest one right now.
Oh, well,
So that we can drop
Yeah.
off mail.
Thank you.
well, there are mail slots in these boxes.
Are they active? I was curious about putting stuff in there as well.
That's where we mail our stuff.
Okay.
Is it? Yeah.
But if you have something a little larger than an envelope, we got that little larger slip.
Yeah, they know because when they sort the mail at the post office, before they bundle everything and drag it out here to put it in the boxes, there's a case that they use and everything's indicated there. So all they have to do is take a picture of the case and then you would know which ones are viable and which ones aren't. Just a sticker on them. I actually worked for the post office for a very brief time, believe it or not, forever ago, so.
I worked there once summer too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go for college. So that would be the way to do it though, honestly.
Okay, let's add it as an agenda item to make sure we either put a plan to try to work another, you know, cause we still have to invest quite a bit of time, volunteer effort and others in keeping our mailroom organized, and that has its own challenges, and it's surely not optimal. We make it work, but it's not optimal.
Right. The final thing, I would like to mention, Tina asked that, she'd like to make some videos, to, highlight our pack it in, pack it out on the beach, or promotion for trash, and she asked that if anyone on the council was interested in participating in one of those videos,
Oh.
if they would let her know.
Okay.
We're trying to highlight that and.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess I said that was the final thing. I do have one more thing, I'm sorry. Just a quick update, short-term rental properties. So 306 total identified. We've received 247 applications, so that's 81% of the ones we've identified. We've approved 227, actually that number is a little higher because I think it's 230 as about 4 o'clock today. That left 17 yet to be, there's applications that are missing required information, I think is down to 17, about less than 10% of the applications. Katie expects to have, all applications issued, or, the certificates issued, for the completed ones by tomorrow.
And Kendall, how many are still non-compliant?
When you say non-compliant,
Are not registered, not paying hot?
we're, I don't know about not paying hot, I haven't asked them to delve into that. Like I said, we had 306 that we identified last year. 247 have given us,
The
have
renewal
submitted,
information.
submitted the renewal or a new, so, I can't quite tell you exactly, because we've had people who have said, we are no longer one, they have stopped, renting, so we've tried to create that number of the properties that have been identified. We've tried to reduce that accordingly, because I think at one time we were up around 320 or more. It's down to 306. But let's see, SCRs without a valid 2025 registration certificate will be removed from our online portals beginning March 17th, so that's Monday. So if they're not in this group, we will discontinue them and their ability to list on their rental platforms. And that has proven effective when people have been.
When exercised
relisted.
before.
Yeah. Any other questions? That's all I got.
All right. Robert?
It's a
Oh, I guess next is police chief. Sorry, Matt, police chief.
Hey, how's everybody? So, you want me to start with Friday's stats
Yeah.
first with the senior skip day?
Yeah, so I thought people would be interested in knowing just what the arrest and calls looked like.
Yeah.
So I asked Matt to reach out and provide that for us.
Okay, so of course you know there was several different agencies. So the only two I really pulled after was Galveston Police Department and Galveston County Sheriff Department. DPS was out there, State Park was out there, a bunch of different agencies. Texas City I saw was out there. So it was just a joint combination of law enforcement. So Galveston, I actually reached out to county, and they advised me. They made 10 misdemeanor arrests, 2 felony arrests, 17 citations were issued, 3 handguns were recovered, 1 AR pistol was recovered. They recovered THC cartridges, 16.8 grams, THC wax, 2.6 grams, and marijuana, 3.4 grams. They actually had their SRG team out here, so they were actually combing the beach, which is really good to make it a whole lot safer.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate them being out here. Also Galveston was out here. They were also on that part of that team, combing the beach. So I talked to Chief Bally with Galveston. He said he wasn't able to give me the tow information or the citations yet because that goes through their municipal court. So he wasn't able to pull that by city council. But he did give me the report of calls. He said they had 288 calls for service. Reports taken, 17 arrests that were actually done at the command post. They actually had set up a command post because they knew about this, at the beginning of the week. And so they set up a command post at fire station on 12 Mile. So they were ready to process people all the way on the west end. So yeah, at the command post, they had 17 arrests. At the county jail, he believes that 12 more were taken to the county jail. So total, they had 29 arrests. That's all he was able to give me. But here in Jamaica Beach, I did our stats. Calls for service, we had 11, which probably should have been way more higher because I guess some people didn't call what what incidents were happening. I don't know why. Maybe they felt that we were overwhelmed or we couldn't make it out there. But I wish people would just call. If they see an incident, if you call, we're gonna show up. Just don't wait to keep it for city council and then tell us that these guys didn't do anything. But if you would call, we would answer your call. So we only had 11 calls for service, but that's just people calling dispatch to let us know where to go. We also had 3 reports taken. We had 24 citations. They were all issued for speeding, reckless driving, driving on the dunes. We got a lot of dunes over there at Beachcomber because they started driving over the dunes because even though there's a big sign when you come into Beachcomber that says no beach access point, they made their own access point because we had already shut down the roads for vehicles, not for foot traffic, but for vehicle traffic. And so we ended up getting a lot of dune tickets over there and illegal parking and disregarding the barricades and signs people were driving around. We did make 1 juvenile arrest, which was Nolan's arrest. It was a 16-year-old who had a gun. We actually have the gun in our evidence. Parents don't know where it came from, so it's gonna be yours. We actually had 12 vehicles towed, which could have been way more, but unfortunately, with the Wrecker Service, they have something that they have to go through to get approved for a laydown yard. So when they were towing vehicles, they were picking up vehicles and taking it all the way back down inside the heart of Galveston to drop it off at their yard, and then come back if they could make it back with all the traffic. So that's why there was only that many vehicles. So like next time, if we know something like this is gonna happen, we can get with them, try to figure out where they can make a laydown yard to just pick up vehicles, drop off, and that way we'd have more vehicles loaded.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about options for that.
And then with the closing on the beach, was a safety issue, not just for the visitors that we all had in here, but also for the residents. We ended up closing down the beach. We did notify GLO at 9:44, so the beach was shut down. And then after the beach was cleared out, we did notify GLO at 11:22 a.m. that the beach was reopened. So we did take all the procedures to close and reopen back at the beach.
And saying the beach was closed at 9:44, to clarify,
Public safety.
we didn't allow any more people in because the beach was getting overcrowded.
Right.
It was later in the day. What time did?
11:22.
Well, that's when we.
That's when we sent
But
out the email.
when did the beach evacuation, when did we actually evacuate the beach?
Oh, at like around 9.
No, she's talking about the second shutdown, like the
When
1 o'clock.
when county
Oh, when
came
county-
in and we actually,
No, so that was at like 9.
No,
No.
That was around 1, wasn't it, 12:30?
No, so about
No,
9:45.
45, 9:50
Is
is whenever.
was when we
We started-
notified. We notified GLO that we had closed the beach to
Right.
vehicle traffic.
Right.
We reopened it about 11:15 because it had started thinning out. But then when it picked up again, and became overwhelming, that's when about 1 o'clock is about
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they came in and forced an evacuation.
What time was the gun issue?
That was actually, the gunshots weren't on our beach.
Oh,
The gunshots were on 13 Mile.
I had heard 13 Mile, 11 Mile, and Tipsy Turkey.
Yeah,
I
the
had
first
heard
ones were
gunshots
at
in all
13
three.
Mile, that's
Yeah.
the first ones we heard, because after they secured our beach, clearing it out, all of a sudden you saw everybody just go to 13 Mile, because they came across the radio gunshots on 13 Mile, so.
All right.
So then the monthly report, you need any other questions with that?
I thought it was interesting that the burn break on the east side of, between the state park and the city became a makeshift back road that they were driving on to go from street to street because they were packing on streets, parking on every side, and they couldn't get up and down, so they were driving to the inn, driving around the state park, which was on fire at the time.
Oh, and then all the the whole fire department got onto them and started,
Nuts.
backtrack them off, so. Really, our monthly, month of February, we had 38 calls for service. We did actually pick up our citations, we had 74, so I guess a lot more traffic's coming into the city. I know I've been out on the beach this past week, and it's been pretty good. There's a lot of people on the beach, like today, we went out there and counted, there's about 170 cars at 2:30 today. So that's pretty, that's pretty good for being on a Thursday. So, we had, one animal control call, we had one welfare concern. Oh, we did have 2 fires. That was the house on, it's on my report here, Spanish Main.
Yep.
And the other one was at the, I believe it was at the Venados.
Yes.
Whenever they had the little spark issue, which they have a spark issue like almost every month at that box. So, oh, there is one other thing I did forget to mention. I don't know if y'all saw it on the news. It was on Grizzly's Hood News on Facebook. So there was a little 16-year-old that went missing, and supposedly she went missing, but the parents are in Houston in Spring. They filed a report in Spring with Harris County Precinct 4, I believe. So they filed a report in Spring. Well, I guess they weren't doing anything very much. So she came over here to Jamaica Beach, where she thought her daughter was, and the sisters came with them. So she asked us kindly if we can look at video footage for her. So we did. We looked at Circle K first, didn't find anything. Then we looked at Ocean Mart, and we actually saw her daughter. So they screenshotted that picture, and Grizzly Hood News put it on her Facebook page, and the daughter was found in 5 minutes. And she was actually like right down the road from her house.
Great.
So that was a good incident that we were able to help on with the parents.
Awesome.
So,
Wonderful.
and that is.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right.
Well, you have my report, however, on the parking lot, I've visited with many of the regular services out here and trying to help them out. And food for thought in the future, we have our lot up in our yard there.
Oh, our John Silver?
Yeah, and he wanted to use it. I said, I've got to inform all the records, we can't just favor you.
Right.
And he said, well, I don't have time for this. I said, well, I'm gonna go. He said, well, he pulled away. He's good. I know him. And he said, I don't have time to wait. So future food for thought, using the lot over there, if anything, and that's any street parking. If we ever go into an ordinance that I mean, just smart to use.
But we would have to have it fence, right? I mean, on an
Well,
impound lot, we would.
On an emergency situation like that, no. You know, they would,
Okay.
they'd probably put their own people there to
Okay.
monitor the yard, so,
Or something.
exactly. Something like that, it's just good food for thought.
Yeah.
No, that's a good,
Yeah, you throw those boots on, a lot of them do that, they'll put it in the yard.
Yes.
Put it on, and then go grab the next one.
Definitely
Right.
24-hour ability to keep it there and not turn it into a gross impound lot.
Well, yes, exactly, and that was what was going through my mind, we can't monitor, we can't do anything like that, and neither can you right now because of the situation, it was very fluid.
right.
Right.
So we just, it's just not a good idea, I came and told Kittle, and pretty much said the same thoughts, and we are not set up for that right now,
No,
but,
Nor is
Okay.
everyone residents of that, if they want to do it every weekend.
true,
Right,
Yeah.
so,
yeah, in an emergency situation. All right.
I have a question for Robert.
yes.
Miss Mary mentioned about the dune, the fencing, and some that's still in there. Has that been cleared? Or because I saw a couple of posts too on Facebook. on
Sometimes we see the
Facebook
sand,
page.
sometimes we see the, it just depends where the wind's blowing and how the sand is.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see them, I send David and his crew, I've asked Toro to go over there, they pull some up and they can't see anymore.
Yeah.
Toro was the company that we hired to pull the dune fencing out.
Yeah,
But sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's not. And when it's visible, we get it done.
perfect, yeah. I didn't think about that with
Yeah.
the sandworm.
Right.
Thank you.
I noticed that she also mentioned though that there were some in the dunes, like had blown over.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have permission to, because that's people's private property, but, how are we addressing?
I've never heard that one until just now, and then
Okay.
but we'll take a look at it and then we'll talk to the property owner.
Okay.
And address it.
All right, thank you.
But we were also, kudos to Katie. We were out putting cones, so they would go, kids would not go down Jamaica Beach Road, and we were standing there trying to keep them away from there. While the police were busy, we were trying to keep kids from going in between people's properties. And, I mean, we weren't the police, and we know that we could have gotten, hurt or something, but we were trying to keep them off people's property from the street side.
Thank you. So they got towed away or ticketed. All right, anything else, Robert?
That's it.
Okay, we have no report from the fire chief right now. Okay, next is, approving the minutes from the regular city council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting on February 27th, 2025, as posted?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor of approving the minutes from the regular city council meeting on February 27th, 2025? Thank you. Okay, next is comments, reports from members of council. I think you're up first.
Oh,
Over to you, Rudy.
wonderful. So I'm a huge fan of the dramatic pause. So, last Friday was unusual, right? There were more people in this town than I've ever seen since I've lived here, and I've talked to residents that have lived here 30+ years. They've never, ever seen as many people around the neighborhood on the beach, ever. They said something along the lines of 2,000 people. I think that's hogwash. I think it's probably twice that number easily. It was absolutely crazy. And combined with the controlled brush fire over there, it looked like truly a zombie apocalypse. I mean, there's no lie. It was absolutely disturbing. And so another thing that the rent houses who were demanding, to have all of the signage to promote their rent house, well, that was a green light for all these people to say, hey, that's empty, I'm gonna use that as a toilet. So there were people in the driveways more so than anywhere else. There were no vehicles there. It said it was a rent house, so it was game on. So some of those places were broken into to some degree. Some, as I said, were used as a parking lot for sure, but also as a toilet. There was one other thing. Well, first of all, thanks, speaking of dramatic pauses, thanks to our Jamaica Beach law enforcement officers. Chief Saratin demonstrated, that was a dramatic pause, demonstrated sturdy leadership and communication. That I believe that to be absolutely true, and I could not be more proud of the professionalism of our officers who maintained control of such a volatile situation last Friday. And anyone that wants to challenge their commitments or their preparedness, I live at 16506 Trinidad Way. Come and talk to me. I'd be happy to straighten you out. Jamaica Beach looks beautiful. Thank you to Kaylin Williford and the entire JBIC for continuing to beautify the neighborhood. They're doing a fabulous job, and I don't think they get as much recognition as they should. So as mentioned before, please volunteer for the cleanup, which is Saturday, March 29th. It's a lot of fun. I've been at the last two. I had an absolutely great time. It's a good time to meet your neighbors and help pick up trash, help plant. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous. They do a great job. And certainly Jose Gonzalez, he runs a tight ship. And I wanted to thank him personally for the Mardi Gras lighting on the Esplanade. I thought that was awesome that they kept the lights out there and added some purple for the, from the Christmas lights to make it a Mardi Gras party atmosphere. So I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to thank him for that. And speaking of Mardi Gras, we did have the parade, believe it or not. So with all this madness, everybody forgets Mardi Gras a bit. And Tina did a great job. I think everybody had a lot of fun. The parade was a lot of fun. Lots of really nicely decorated golf carts and costumes. So that's all I got.
All right.
I don't have anything.
Alderman Joseph.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see, I want to start off with, we're excited about kicking off our 50th anniversary for Jamaica Beach. So exciting. I'm excited to work with Tina Fuentes, our community coordinator, who's coordinating this with the rest of our committee, our co-chairs Dee Compton, Janine Price, Steve Curson, and myself. We've had meetings and it's just been really, really good. We all are excited about getting this going. Hopefully we're going to be having a lot of events starting Friday, May 23rd. So start marking your calendars. Start looking for further updates as we get closer to this anniversary celebration day. We're going to be having a lot of great recognitions of the longest residents that have lived here, 40 plus years. It was very exciting for me last Saturday to meet a couple of residents that lived here 50 plus years, so they have a lot of interesting information to share. So I'm excited. Just keep your eyes peeled as I continue to post more on all the Jamaica Beach Facebook pages. Also, to echo again, yes, the Jamaica Be Clean Day. We're going to be gathering at 8:30 in the pavilion, and we'll get started at 9 o'clock. So everybody bring your gloves, sunscreen, bug spray, appropriate clothing, clippers, shovels, trash bags, bring it all. And yes, and Mayor Pro Tem Rennick, I agree. They're just a lot of fun. Like I said, I hope I get, we're gonna break out in teams. I know the team I was on last year with Kaylin was out in the field with the cows, and it was just so much fun. So I'm serious, come on out, it's a lot of fun. And then, let's see. And again, can't say enough, thank you. Interim Chief Matt, you did an amazing job. I'm so proud of y'all. I know that there was some people out there that had their comments, but I also joined the challenge because I think you did amazing with your department. Your department should be highly commended for how much you did with what you had. And y'all were what I appreciate at the end of the day is that you protected us, you protected our city, and that makes me very proud. So, great job. Thank you so much. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna tell you when Matt came by at the park and closed down that park, I was ready to leave. I heard him on that speaker and it was like, we knew that we're being protected. Thanks so much for everything that you guys did. It was incredibly difficult situation, and I'm gonna say our police department, Galveston PD Sheriff Department, Precinct 2 Constable Office, the Park Rangers, the DPS, Texas City Cops. I mean, those were the ones that I could find that were mentioned on Facebook and on social media. It was an all hands on deck, and you handled it amazingly. Thank you so much. Bravo. And I want to mention that, let's see, Saturday is Wigipoa. It's at the Marriott Hotel at 9 a.m. If you get there early, there's breakfast burritos about 8:30. And,
Wikifoa, West Galveston Island Property Owners Association.
and, so far, in total of stars that me and my volunteers have shared is 10,600 stars. Thank you.
Okay. Before you turn, I'd like to, Brandon is another child added to the list. Talk about that as well. Pearson was born last Friday morning.
We welcomed our third Jamaica Beachin baby 5 days ago. That was one thing I wanted to add about Friday's chaos as well. My wife was ready to pop that day. We were actually even scheduled to be induced that evening, and Matt and the police department made sure we got word that if labor happened before, they would help us get out of the neighborhood, because all the streets were completely blocked. Buccaneer had people both ways going out. So again, that's the kind of city we live in. That's the kind of police force we have. I think that's super cool. Kendall, how about that mosquito truck?
Get a brand new one, sit down in the parking lot.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna cross that off my.
And, in my report tomorrow, you'll see some more information on mosquitoes and spraying and that kind of stuff. Awesome.
What are we talking about? What are we doing with the old truck? Trying to find a ditch to bury it. Have we had anybody to take it, or is it just are we having to pay to take it?
It's more of a parts truck. The engine would have some very low mileage, honestly.
No, that's true. That's true.
So we're exploring what that would
Okay.
look like.
Because I hadn't heard yet what we were doing with the old relic.
Is the pool still on schedule with the redoing of the refinishing of it?
So yes, I spoke with Nathan yesterday, and they still expect it to be done by the first of April. They're looking for the exact match of toe tile. He says he has something very, very close. He wouldn't know the difference if we didn't tell you. But he's looking to see if he can get one with just a little bit better match. But he said the crews are ready to come in, and as soon as he gets them to work. So yes, couple 3 weeks.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, also Brandon, with the pool, I know Tina is exploring options for providing swim lessons.
Yes, we discussed that. Yeah,
So, we are looking at how to do that, and of course, that would be open to anybody that wanted to come. But I know she's exploring what instructors might be available and how best to get the word out. So she should be providing more updates on that as we get a little closer to sun. All right, next we're on to new business. So the first thing we had to have a motion to discuss, consider, and take action on resolution 2025-1, declaring certain property as surplus and authorizing the auction or sale of designated vote slips. Do I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion to discuss
Do I have a second?
as stated.
All right, Kendall, you wanna fill us in on legal's input on this?
Yes, we have it, and really, so this is something we've already covered and approved the sale of the 3 boat slips. But Robert, in preparing for this, had some conversations with our city attorney, and we need a resolution to formalize this with a couple of very specific things included. So she said that we need to specify a minimum bid amount, and also in the motion that we reserve the right to reject any and all bids. And so To formalize it, I mean, it's really just, some.
Technicality,
It really is.
a legal technicality, but we do need to establish a minimum bid. So,
And-
your recommendation on that?
Well, there's some on different sell platforms ranging from 10 to, I believe, 18,000. Honestly, I would recommend a minimum bid of probably around 8,000, unless you're just really wanting to get the best price out of them, but they're not benefiting us in any way, so, I mean, if we, again, you still have the option to reject any of them if you don't get something you're comfortable with, but I would recommend 8,000.
I think that's right.
Sounds good.
Okay, so, do I have any other discussion, comments, questions?
These three, slip 10, slip 42, and slip 43, that is still excluding the one just to the south side of Beaubrand.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Hey, just remember, there are no improvements, there's nothing out there but word slip.
Yeah, yeah, a survey.
That's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2025-1 and authorize the sale of the properties by sealed bid, establishing the minimum bid as $8,000 and declaring the right to reject any and all bids? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion for resolution 2025-01 as stated.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor of approving resolution 2025-1? Thank you.
Motion passes.
All right, next is, discussion, consideration, and take action to approve an agreement with HR Green to perform a wastewater collection system condition assessment. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Make a motion to discuss HR Green one.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so this is a follow-up to, kind of our last meeting where we, approved to go forward with, the agreement with HR Green, and we've kind of been waiting on their scope of work, which, is what we have before you with prices included. It's really, the work that I was trying to get to where I see the breakdown. As you see here, they're looking at probably a 12-week turnaround for this, from a notice to proceed to the final technical report, which is going to give us an itemized breakdown, a prioritized breakdown of an assessment of the manholes and the system with priorities on how we address fixing and addressing the inflow and infiltration. This is going to include physical inspections of the manholes in our system, GIS locating each of them. It will also include physical exam of nearby pipings or anything that are close to, like if they see a clean out or something in a nearby yard to the manholes as they're going through it, they will make some assessments in those regards. But again, it's going to be physically examining, measuring, taking pictures, geolocating it. At the end, they will have created a GIS database that we will have access to and can manipulate going forward. That will require an additional expenditure on our part of approximately $5,000 to get the licensing with ESRI, ESRI.
Is that an annual?
It is an annual, so we will need to budget for an annual renewal. But I believe there are 2 collaborator accounts, I think is the correct term, so we can do it a couple of different ways. Depending on how much we spend for the account, we can have somebody in-house make additions or modify that, or we can partner with HR Green to make those additions and those corrections, which honestly is the direction we should go. But the the 66,000 that is specified here, just know that there will be, an additional licensing fee, because you'll see it does include GIS dashboard, but we need we need a license through Esri, for that.
Yeah, I saw that, and there's in here, the level 1 inspection, according to this National Association of Sewer Service Companies, a level 1 is supposed to include, scoping, so, and this doesn't, so I was curious about that, because one of the exclusions on here towards the end was that they weren't going to, camera the pipe works. So is this simply removal of a manhole or manhole cover rather, and putting a, marking it, geospatially with that device, and then they take a picture of it? Or, are they gonna scope the line? Because they say two different things here. They say that they follow level 1 inspection per this NASCO. But if you look at NASCO, it includes that as part of that level 1 inspection. So
So there is no televising included in this. I was not, so I will have to clarify with them, where they use the terminology level 1 and what our understanding of what level 1 should be. But no, it's pulling the lid. I don't know if they will physically go down into every one of them. I would suspect not, because that would require a lot of confined space entry stuff that, and this price doesn't reflect anything like that. So I think it's going to be visualization and picture taking. Now, I cannot say they wouldn't drop a camera into the immediate manhole, but they did not in fact, they said they would not recommend cameraing it or smoke testing in the beginning. They thought that was money not well spent. They needed to physically examine them. So I can't get that clarification.
Okay, yeah, please, because I'd like to better understand what that entire scope is. Because like I said, it doesn't agree, the information that I found on this NASCO versus which they reference here, and then what they're saying they provide is not the same.
Okay. Any other questions about it?
We checked on Tony's availability to open manholes.
Yes.
And then,
he works for us.
yes, and so
He's employed by branch, but he works for us.
So he'll get all he can,
Yeah.
right? And then, how have we defined the process for stubborn ones?
And-
We haven't had that kickoff meeting.
No,
Right.
Dan and I had that discussion the other day, that there could be some that, require a little bit more, a backhoe or something, and the fact that we will probably break some of those collars and stuff. And that, I think we have 10 collars on the ground, and he's gonna bring in an additional 20 to store, so that we will have enough ahead of time.
And how about for lids? Cause I know lids have been
Well,
challenging.
He did not he said the collars, he wasn't specific about the lids, so that's something.
We're gonna remove the lids for it.
Yes, we,
That's what I read in here.
yeah, we will work ahead of their crews to opening the manholes that we know are next in line, so that all they're coming to do is do the inspections, the GIS locating, and then try to keep this moving as quickly as possible. So yes, we do have to provide the manpower to do that.
We get a discount for them.
Pardon me? No. Well, we probably do, we probably do.
This probably was.
Yeah, right.
And so,
Fair enough.
but yeah, we do have an employee who, like I said, he is employed by branch, but he is located here at City Hall. He handles our
Day-to-day
our
water
meter
operations.
meter reading, small leaks, things like that, but he's physically stationed here, and it would be, we would put him in charge of being that person to open those ahead of the crews.
Well-
One thing in here that said manholes that were buried or under streets or soil won't be evaluated unless they're uncovered by the client. Do we have any left near the beach that are covered that we would need to get scraped off or anything?
Well,
Not the beach side.
you know, unless they've blown over a little, but I think even those have been physically marked, like, if, you know, with a pull or something, it would just be cleaning a little bit off. But all of those were opened within the last month. When FEMA was here, we physically opened every one of them when FEMA was here, so.
I mean, the issue is, we don't know if it's under a driveway. Until we camera the system, we won't know where every manhole is. And also, over time, some of them have gotten buried, in the ditches and along the right of ways, and we'll do our best to know that. We need to make sure that HR Green, we're not, once we do the manholes and we GIS mark them, then they're gonna, as best they can, connect the lines too, right?
They indicated that they could probably do that, but, and the more information that we're able to provide, whether that's paper maps or
Yes,
whatever,
yeah.
the better they're gonna be able to do.
Right, because my question is hopefully they'll be able to tell us, I mean, I know by TCEQ guidelines, you're supposed to have a manhole at every turn and then at every so many feet. So you would think if we went 800 feet and we should have only done 300, they would put a question mark on the map saying, we didn't identify a manhole here, but there should be one. Maybe we could ask them to highlight those areas where the distances exceed the design criteria. Cause then Matt or Tony could go try to scope for it too, you know?
That's a good point.
Or, you know, Dan does have a camera too, and, you know, he could pop in and try to identify those areas where we should have one.
I have a question. So it says on here that HR Green will provide ongoing QA/QC using internal staff peer reviews. Who's internal staff?
You're looking at it.
Okay.
Just checking, just saying.
But we will
It
have to.
wasn't part of the definition.
Yeah.
With our infrastructure liaison close by.
I mean, we'll have some, branch will assist in some
Okay.
of that type of.
Okay. And the head of the deliverables, I'm assuming, is that part of that project schedule, so they'll do it before each time?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Looks like they're asking for a lot of information too, Kurt.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
beginning, they want to try to,
The survey information.
yeah, try to get as much physical information, like I said, whether that's old maps or even some new maps.
The
that
newest
we might-
maps we've
Newest
got.
maps we have, that they want to try to gather as much physical data that we already have
Yeah,
to
what-
help them in this initial assessment.
I like the idea of opening up as many manholes as you can, because these guys do have a schedule. So, you know, we don't wanna
And see, that's.
delay their work.
Yeah, that's the purpose of trying to work ahead. We will, it's my assumption, I guess, that in our kickoff meeting, we will outline each day, you know, where they're heading next, so that we know which manholes we need to be opening up and.
Yeah.
And,
Get their agreement.
right.
Okay, like I said, one of my concerns though is replacement composite lids. Or what our plan is in terms of a bunch of plywood on hand.
Well, I mean,
To cover it so we can.
I don't expect the lids to break, but we may have to.
Well, some of them have actually, they're so rusty that you really can't seal them
Some of
again.
them may be difficult.
Anyway, I know, if you just follow up with Dan on, did he have any luck sourcing them out of Michigan? Because I think there was a place out of Michigan that he had identified that he might be able to get some from. Okay, any other discussion?
I don't think so. I did have a question about that, the service, whether that was annual or not, whether, that you already answered that.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
so
sorry.
one thing is they would maintain it for a year. And then we would take it
Hmm?
and yell it out and everything, looking for it.
As
Oh.
far, for the GIS,
Yeah, but
yes, if we chose to do that. And so I had that conversation with them, I said, that's not gonna be in our wheelhouse to take that over. We'll own the license, but I don't envision us having anybody, a GIS specialist on board between that first. But they will continue to maintain it, like I said, we're gonna have to budget a little bit of cost for that, but honestly, it'll be minimal.
For the first year?
After the
Even
first,
after the first year?
year.
Okay.
Well, once it's completed, we don't really need to access it until we do substantial work. and
Exactly.
To update it,
Yep.
so that makes sense. And I'm sure they'll be able to print maps out from the software.
But it would be my expectation that, any additions or whatever would be provided by the contractors that are doing the work. You know, we built that into it, that they would provide, the changes that, so they could be added to the GIS database.
It's just nice to have, you know, something printed out on a plotter that they could put in the shack, the wastewater treatment.
Oh, to have
Just kinda-
have a physical
yeah,
map, yeah.
Just to run things
But we
down.
should be able to,
Especially when you don't have electricity.
should be able to access that via, like a tablet or something like that.
Mhm.
Make it, you know, it's a web, it's a
Yeah.
web-based.
I understand, but like I said, in emergency situations, it's
But
always
it never
good
hurts
to
to
have
have-
dumb stuff.
Yeah, I
right?
know.
I'm a dumb guy.
Paper's old school, but it still, it never hurts to have it.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, as we visit with them, something we didn't talk about, but as we look at building our GIS system, and I know we have in our strategic plan, the asset management software, you know, for maintenance routines. It'd be nice, I mean, I know Esri's the market leader out there in our GIS, so I suppose their capabilities are growing, but being able to link that to our asset management software if possible, you know, and is there a way to utilize the Esri license and that info in a more primary manner, where then maintenance activities would feed into it? I don't know who. As we get into this, let's make sure we schedule a call with HR Green. I'd like to be involved in it. You might like to also.
Yeah.
Just to kind of brainstorm what they know about asset management software
Okay.
as we reach that timeline on our strategic plan.
Alright.
You know, I don't like to miss an opportunity where we could link and get some synergies between the two.
I agree. That way, when you do any kind of call out, you can identify it easily
Yes,
and it's
yes.
geolocated, so
Yeah, and-
you can't miss it.
And then also just, you know, you don't want two completely separate databases, so if we do some work in one with automated work notices about what
Right.
needs to be done on our maintenance plan.
No, it's a good idea.
I
It needs to
don't
be
know.
compatible with
Yeah,
as
I
many
don't know
things
where
as possible.
we've gone in the last few years as far as linking those together. So, let's make sure we don't miss an opportunity here. All right, any other discussion?
Did
Okay.
you did you look at the intellectual property ownership and all this stuff back there?
Yeah, I mean, it's their standard contract
And once they give us something digital, like, digital information or anything there, at that point, looks like they just, you know, they're not responsible for that, because it's
Yeah.
a modified.
that's right. Yeah, no, it's, once they give it to us, it's ours.
Compatible,
Well, that's why I wanna have the upfront conversation. I mean, our GIS Esri is gonna be in the format it's in. But they have pretty broad connection
Well, they should be.
capabilities within it.
Well, so I also had the discussion with them because I knew that we would be utilizing this, discussions with FEMA about mitigation.
Oh, yes.
And whether or not they would share that information, you know, and they indicated that, yeah, absolutely they would.
Okay,
That intellectual property, they would still, allow it to be utilized in those capacities.
Okay.
Because we will need a scope of work, to present to FEMA, as far as
Oh, yes,
mitigation.
yes.
And, my intent is to use what they provide us as that schedule works.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, any other comments or discussion? All right, do I have a motion to approve the agreement with HR Green to perform a wastewater collection system condition assessment, for, what is it, $66,200? I'm trying to go back to get the number exactly right.
Yes.
Yeah.
66.
Yeah, $66,200. Do I have a, motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of approving an agreement with HR Green to perform a wastewater collection system condition assessment? Okay, thank you very much, all in favor. Okay, next is discussion and consideration of a parking ordinance. Do I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make that motion to discuss the consideration of a parking ordinance.
Do I have a second?
I'll do the second.
Okay, so this was kind of prompted based on, the lovely events of last Friday. And, one thing I've recognized we have no authority to do is at a minimum, can we put something in place that says under some type of critical condition, we can post signs at the inlet to Buccaneer and Bob Smith saying no parking anywhere on the streets, you know, and if we did that, who would have the authority to do that? Did we give it to the police chief, did we give it to the mayor? And we would have to give some guideline around what that emergency situation would be. So that was the first point of discussion. But then also, while we're talking parking, you know, we've kicked around before. Do we want to do any type of broader parking ordinance in the city? You know, right now, you can't park along the majority of Jolly Roger, you can't park along Buccaneer, you can't park any of the streets on the south side of 3005, you can't park on,
Blackbeard, there's like.
it's like the first three streets north of 3005, you can't park on. I can't remember exactly how many streets it is. And then there's a few other odd places where you can't park. But is there any interest, and I'm not saying we, you know, at a minimum, I think we should put something in place that allows to say we're no parking, on the streets during this period.
Well, it could be any kind of an emergency situation, or, I mean, for instance, if we all had to evacuate, we need to keep the streets clear so people can get their boats and things.
Yes,
out.
yep,
So
yep,
there could be different circumstances, not just.
right, not just crowds. So this discussion is just about, is that something we want to pursue, right? And then, you know, between, Kendall wears a lot of hats. Between Kendall and legal, we could look at what are we legally allowed to do? I mean, I haven't even looked into, or can we even do that? You know, would it be allowed? Is it against any state statutes or regulations, you know? I don't know of any, but
There's lots of
yes,
neighborhoods.
Mr.
But you know, it'd be a good time to put all together one ordinance that tells us, there's like 7 or 9 ordinances for no parking streets.
Yeah, they kept adding on.
So if we can at least put it together into one, and then decide for, you know, if we don't want to do all the streets. But, you know, which brings to up, I'm sorry to go off track, but is Mooney Cove ever going to complete?
And there were, I haven't heard anything from them, I guess I could reach out to see where they're at on, but they have our information that I've sent to them.
Okay, it's just, that would help put it.
It would, it definitely would. And we might not want to address this until we get Unicode back and see how that would fit into the picture. But like I said, I just wanted to bring up, is this something?
Is
we
there
want-
already something that exists, like emergency powers, like if there's a state of emergency declared, that you have the power to do that already,
Well, you
or
have,
is it not?
in an emergency declaration, you do have some powers to prohibit movements within the city, but I don't know that that's necessarily parking. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it.
I was just curious.
There might be something, I mean, if in a loose interpretation of it, that, yeah, you could say, you know, but I don't know.
Well, there's gated communities all over the place, so surely you're allowed,
We
there's some
can-
mechanism to allow for that sort of closing off the front and only allowing.
Yeah, those
We
are-
can pass any kind of parking ordinance we want, as far as for all the time. What I don't know is, I mean, we could make no parking on the streets ever, right? You know, you could go as restricted as that to say, you know, you can't park on the streets from midnight to 2 a.m. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways we're allowed to do that. What I don't know is, are you allowed to do something on a one-time emergency basis, you know, without the consent of full council to do it? Because if it's an emergency, you're not gonna be able to pull everybody together to do that.
Well,
I
in
feel
general.
like we have in the past, on certain big things going on the island, put police at the front of the neighborhood verifying resident status to come in.
Yeah, when I came in for home for Ike, there was a start.
I thought we did it for Kappa as well.
Well, in under, like I said, under some of those emergency declarations, movement, absolutely, it's very clear that you can restrict movement within, but I don't know that that means, not parking, I mean.
Going back to parking.
Yeah.
Sure.
We gotta focus on the parking.
So, I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but I mean, any kind of parking ordinance to me, I mean, because contractors have to park in the street. I mean, lawn crews have to park in the street, so during daylight hours, for sure, I mean, you need to have access, you have to have the ability to park in the street. But there are certain streets that are super narrow, and there are thoroughfares, especially with boat traffic or boat trailing traffic, that impedes progress. You know, you can get down the road, and that causes a problem and accidents. But nighttime especially, there's some certain areas around here, turns and such, that all of a sudden, by the time you get to the car, you're on top of the car, you know, and it's scary.
Galveston has residential stickers on, you have to have a residential pass for lots of the streets up in the
I've
city.
seen that.
I don't wanna do anything that makes it harder for residents to live here, but
Right.
if there's some way we can keep
Well, there
congestion down, it
there
makes
must be something, because my book club, this happened 2 months ago. We were parking, but we were not parking in the street, just along the street. And, the police officer visited us and had us move off the street. So where's that, I feel like there's a disconnect that I'm hearing tonight, I don't know.
Yeah,
Is that we have,
that's the
we
hard
do
part.
have, where we're being told to move off the street, but now we're trying to find a parking ordinance to figure out if we can park on the street.
Well,
I'm missing that.
my understanding, and this was from visiting with Chief Garraway before, is that it's a little bit officer discretion on if a car is impeding traffic. Parking is illegal on any street if it impedes traffic.
Well, in this case, we were not impeding traffic, it was a book club, we're not, raucous people, it's just that, you know, and it's only for 2 hours. But the first thing that was asked of us was, are you an STR? So, it was interesting, and I thought that was a little different for us for something, we were not loud, we were inside a home, and so I thought it was interesting. So I think we need to find something consistent.
Mhm.
Who was that police officer?
Anyway, like I said, it is up to what impedes traffic and creates a potential hazard, and a lot of our streets are very narrow. So, but it would be nice to have it spelled out more. As usual, we're pretty gray on a lot of things. Anyway, so my recommendation, oh, yes, Mr.
Ginger Jones, 16612 Curlew. What if we got all the parking ordinances and kind of consolidated them and then go from there after they find out if we can legally post the signs in the case of an emergency or not?
Yeah, so I guess path forward here, and jump in if anybody disagrees, is let's find out what we can do legally on an emergency basis.
You know, emergency basis.
And,
I
and
mean,
then.
actually, you know, like when we have hurricanes, they don't let people back in.
Right.
I mean, I'm
But
sure
that's
it's there.
movement, but that's movement.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure it's there.
I think the right is there, but I'm not. But I wanted to make sure council kind of wanted to look into this before we had Kendall go investigate it and have legal investigate it.
I'm all about it being consistent too, and that we follow that one process with everybody.
Okay, so let's look into, can we do something emergency wise?
But we have two issues here. One is the emergency
Right,
issue, and the other is no parking on the streets, which is parking, right?
yes, which is part.
And we've wrestled with this now for, 3 years and 6 months, and we've had different approaches. One of the things for our service people, we would allow service people to park on the street. And as the mayor was saying, we could restrict it to, certain periods of time, no parking on the streets.
Right.
So I guess we're down to, what's the opinion? Should we have no parking on the streets in a certain timeline?
Yeah, so
We've wrestled with this for years, it's not new.
People are gonna have events, they're gonna have baby showers, wedding showers, birthday parties, book club. You know, there should be
Yeah,
allowances,
Yeah.
and be consistent about it.
And what some people do is they call their neighbors.
That's right.
I mean, Beachcomber and all of the front, all those people, organize with their neighbors. If they're gonna have a big
Right.
something, they have and use their neighbor's driveways.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's, cause they don't have parking on the street.
Right.
And we have a lot of
Anytime,
streets that
at
are,
any time.
that are no parking where the residents do exactly what,
That's right. I
what
agree.
Lorraine was
Well,
saying.
I have noticed that a lot of the overflow, like if people do have those events, like what we're talking about, they park at the park and then they'll just shuttle whoever.
Or
back
City
to
Hall.
Yeah, I mean, you can use either one of those locations, so, I mean, that's pretty easy-ish. I mean, I get what you're saying, but like I said, for me, there's been a couple of instances in certain parts of the neighborhood where it's dark and I've made a turn and just about smacked into a vehicle, so it's like,
It is dangerous.
It is, I agree.
so I'm torn.
And on these small streets,
Well, would council like to move forward with investigating a parking ordinance that adds no parking under timeframes or on given streets? Do we wanna wait until Municode comes and then address it? When we've got a more consolidated version?
I was gonna say, that's probably gonna be the end of the year by the time we're getting.
So it's kind of a question on would y'all like to see this, I mean, we've gotta balance overall agendas and workload, but would y'all like to see this in the next few meetings as being brought up as a?
I think we should fit it in. I think it's a
Okay.
safety issue,
And summer's coming, and,
for sure.
we have summer till next January, so.
Okay, well, we will,
Serious.
we'll consolidate, the parking ordinances and get them all out to y'all. Just, not consolidate, we can't consolidate them, but we can send you the ones that are
you can
there.
just get the list of the names.
Yes.
I will say that nothing we've discussed would have done anything about senior skip day.
I know, we'd have to have the emergency, as I was saying, I'd like you to check with legal on, can we put some type of emergency action in that for a 24-hour period or 36-hour period, we put signs up at the front of the neighborhood that make the entire neighborhood no parking for that time period. And how would we do that and who would authorize
Before
that?
an emergency?
Huh? In preparation of a no event.
Could you just
When they
not
do it
let
to Seawall
down,
for Mardi Gras coming, there'll be no parking Friday.
Yes, yeah.
could they not just, like, if we had police at the two entrances, couldn't they just say, are they a resident or a renter or a visitor and let them in? Otherwise, no. If there's a crowd of, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's allowed or not either.
Could we have put cones to avoid?
I mean, you're trying to do it with no parking, I understand.
Well, that's what I was saying about the gated community thing. There are communities all up and down through F-05 that are able to say you can't come in here.
But those aren't cities.
Those aren't cities.
Don't know that.
Those are HOA's rules. They fall under a completely, they have all kinds of authorities and rights because the homeowner signed off that they agreed to these restrictions.
How about a moot?
Could we have put cones to avoid that making both one way? Could we have put something out there to keep, so that people would not have used Buccaneer as a one-way street both sides?
Actually, they were not following rules.
They did not follow the rules, so. And then
I just don't know if we could have done some
the
physical.
no, you know, if we put our barrels up with no parking signs on them, couple streets in on Buccaneer and Bob Smith, no parking anywhere in the city, no parking anywhere in the city. You know, it would at least give us the route to tow if they did park there. Yeah, but it would be in preparation of a
mass
event.
invasion.
Yeah.
I like
But
it.
there's two separate issues, there really is that and parking.
That's right, there's
And
a
we need
general
to
parking
separate 'em.
ordinance, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Kendall, can you find out if there's anything we can do from an emergency declaration to make the streets no parking? And then also let's move, you and I can figure out based on agendas, a good time to put it on the agenda.
Okay.
For a general discussion about the no parking ordinance.
All right.
All right, any other discussion about this?
Good.
Nope. All right, next on the agenda is discussion and consideration of the short-term rental ordinance. Do I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make that motion to discuss and consider the short-term rental ordinance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so, this is the latest version. And, I know that since it's been posted, we've had a few more things, come up that I would like to include. Number one is if you go to item M under definitions. So what well, and actually that's not where it goes. It goes under N, maximum occupancy. Part B, where it says the Galveston County Appraisal District living area square footage divided by 150 square feet rounded up. I would like to make that say, that it's that or, and, FEMA compliant square footage. So basically GCAD doesn't care if your home is FEMA compliant or not for our flood mitigation, for the firm requirements, flood insurance rate map requirements. So, to be counted as square footage for your occupancy, it needs to be GCAD living area square footage, but it also needs to be FEMA compliant square footage. So
What is FEMA compliant?
That's
What
my
do they
question too.
require?
What is that?
our flood mitigation ordinance per FEMA, right, in order to get FEMA flood insurance in the neighborhood, we have to have a flood mitigation ordinance. And the flood mitigation ordinance states that, your lower level can only be used for parking, storage, and access if it was built after April 8th, 1971. If it was built before April 8th, 1971, then ground floor, it's really not ground floor, it's if you're in a floodplain, which our flood map, you know, it's different in the neighborhood, what your elevation is for flood map. But, basically, anything in a flood zone, which every home here is in a flood zone, the area within the flood zone can only be used for parking, storage, or access. And if it was built earlier, then it is grandfathered to have living space downstairs. So for square footage to count towards your occupancy, it's what GCAD says, as well as being FEMA compliant.
It's grandfathered if it was built that way prior to 1971.
Correct. If
If it was built
that
out
way,
after that date, then
That's
it's not
right.
compliant.
that's right. If it was
Or
built
grandfathered.
before that date,
Thank you.
it's grandfathered. So I know we have that calculation in definition of in, and then there's also an example of it in the short-term rental registration and application section, number 10. And 8 also, needs to clarify that it needs to be added. It needs to be Galveston County Appraisal District living area, square footage, and FEMA compliant. Excuse my nose. What happens when I come home from Colorado?
Adding it to 10 is what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
Before we move off in, I have a couple of questions. Kendall, how many full-time employees does the city have currently?
15.
And then who's our full-time SDR person?
We don't have a full-time STO person.
And so our current thing is 2 per qualified veteran plus 4, or also stuff, GIS, Galveston County Appraisal District, living square footage divided by 150 square feet, rounded up, add the FEMA stuff. So we don't have a full-time person that makes this distinction, does all these calculations. For currently 306 total SCRs. About a year ago, this council, or the old council, unanimously passed 2 per qualified veteran plus 2 additional people. And explicitly, the very next meeting, they went back on that and changed it again to this, and maybe even a third time to add that 150 square feet. My proposal, to make it easier on the city, is just to go back to the 2 per qualified veterans plus 2 additional people. Add the FEMA stuff, done.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's a great idea.
So that Marisol 16613, that's, remember, that's what we went through
Yeah, and we said we would revisit it. We passed it, we said we'd revisit it. I'm revisiting it.
but there's nobody here. Remember, that was
This
one of the
thing- this
biggest
meeting was
fights.
posted
That was
for
the biggest fight, and that's
a
one of
year.
the things that was brought up in the forum. in
Okay,
the-
I'm bringing it back. That's what I was elected to do. So I hear your point, thank you. I would be not doing my duty. I was elected to get the STRs under control.
But
I don't
also
think that this
on the
ordinance.
meetings,
Excuse
on
me,
the-
Marisol,
excuse me.
Okay,
Okay.
let me finish.
I was elected overwhelmingly because I ran on STRs to get them under control. I don't think that this ordinance is really getting anything under control. It's putting a little bit of lipstick on a problem that we have. But the 2 plus 2 is what we ran on. Is what we passed. It got changed. Everybody got really mad and wanted it to go back to 2 plus 2. I believe that is one of the reasons you put me in this seat, and I'm going to speak up against it. For it. So I understand your position. And also, I'd just like to say I appreciate you coming to these as opposed to people that just sit at home in a non-STR ridden area and write a letter from their couch. I don't always agree with what you're saying, but I respect that you come every single time. But going back to the 2 plus 2 is at the purview of the city council, and I would like to discuss it and bring it up for consideration.
Mayor, I would like to bring up something. One of our citizens did a public information request. And what we need to fix is, for instance, in the one case here, there were 62 citations that were put out for STRs. In this case, LLCs and beach clubs. And 54 of them were dismissed. Okay? 5 were paid and 3 were left open. Now, we're not fixing anything if we can't enforce what we're doing. So how can we fix the ordinance 2311? Cause that's what this that's what all of these are, is the non-approved ordinance in 2311. And all of this employee time and court time, that's what we need to fix.
And you're right, and it's not, we've had a learning curve of working with our prosecutor on what and how citations need to be documented. So the ordinance is enforceable as written. The issue is how our citations were being issued. And we have to do, and Ken will jump in here to help clarify, but we have to add affidavits, and we didn't list proper, dates on the citations.
We didn't properly list who it was being issued to. It lacked the affidavit. The procedural part of us issuing the citation was wrong, and that's what caused the majority of those dismissals. As the mayor alluded to, we did have a teaching session with our judge and our prosecutor on the proper steps and what steps we need to be taking to make sure that these are properly issued to the correct person. Most of those, as you referenced, were LLCs. They were getting issued to the incorrect party involved with the LLC. And so that is the majority of the issues with that.
So the ordinance is enforceable as written. Like I said, we had a learning curve on how those needed to be issued with all the proper documentation.
So is that
So-
now resolved?
Mm-hmm.
This is just for, these 62 are just for LLCs and beach box. Now, how many, I can't imagine how many were in total for all of them. Do you have any idea of how many this procedural thing was it working for this whole year?
No, I don't have a number, but the biggest procedural issues were with the LLCs because of who we were issuing the tickets to.
Yeah.
The correct terminology is escaping me right now as far as the person we're supposed to be issuing it to. The registered agent, thank you.
Yeah.
And, so that only applies to LLCs. So, I'm not saying we didn't have some others that had some procedural things, but they were much more limited.
The biggest batch of them were, issuing to the wrong party. But then another big piece of it was how the citations were issued. We didn't have a proper affidavit, and then we didn't have a proper date we had to provide a date, right? Remember that section, about the subpoena for presence for showing up? You had to give more notice that it wasn't on, it is on our citation as it's issued from, eForce,
As it's printed out.
right?
yes.
But when we were issuing them with these citations, it didn't have that language.
We had to change that.
We had to go back and add that language. And that's the reason a lot of them were dismissed as well. Because we were not correct procedurally on those, and that has been corrected.
Yeah, it hasn't been that the ordinance isn't enforceable. It
That's right.
was mistakes in the procedural part.
Yeah, and those have been worked through. And like
Yeah,
Kendall
a
said.
lot of these are advertising non-approved occupancy.
Yes,
That's it, most of them.
yes.
And so it's like, I just assumed that it had to do something with
No.
the ordinance
No,
itself.
it's that the police officer and has to be a notarized affidavit where he witnessed and is aware of the violation. And we weren't attaching that affidavit. And then we also were not specifying, it was about appearance in court. That was not on the issuing of, I mean, for traffic, and they do it off their laptop, right? And it issues the citation. It was a different form we were using for these, and we've corrected that form.
Okay.
So, yes, it is enforceable now. And I will tell you that we've not been doing a lot on enforcing the current ordinance for the last 2 months, because all of our STR staff has been working double time to get a good list and to know if they're registering again or not registering, and following up with our trolling tool to see who's out of compliance. Yes, Ms. Jones?
Ginger Jones, 16612 Curlew. Since there's been so many problems with this, registering and everything, is there a way to make it easier next time?
Well, first of all, there's the learning curve.
Okay.
But it should be easier next time because it's more validation of what's there.
Well, it seems like if you registered this year and nothing's changed,
That's
you
right.
could just
Yes,
renew it and get a new number.
Yeah.
I mean,
It should just be a validation, and then a new number and certificate issued for next year.
okay.
Yeah, because this is really quite burdensome.
But we've already discussed some changes tonight that will change maximum occupancy significantly. So there'll be a lot of calculation that goes on next time.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Two
Um,
2 plus 2 would be.
Mayor, I'd like to bring up this failure to comply and appeal of suspension. Deborah Taberts had a very good point about citations and giving who gets the citation. And I think we need to discuss that a little bit more. But a bigger concern is the appeal. I'm certainly happy that an appeal has been added, but I don't think an appeal board, being the city council, I don't think the city council should be the appeal board and be on the appeal process.
That's how a lot of other cities are doing it.
Well, actually, we used to have the board of what's it called, the board of something.
Adjustments.
Adjustments, that the city couldn't be that, and they had to have a separate board for that. So I think cities are getting away from the council being a board, you can't legislate and be, the board for that. I think we need to look at having a fair committee to be on the appeals process.
Saying we're not fair.
The council is elected by the people, though, isn't that the fair committee?
But like I say, like with the Board of Adjustments, we had to move that out of the council's hands and into a committee. You can't legislate and be the appeal board.
Well, you can. Cities are doing it all over the state.
Well, I'm just suggesting that we have a committee be the appeal board, and that way, I think it'd be more fair for the appeal process. I don't agree with.
We don't need more bureaucracy, let's keep it small.
Um,
I'd rather keep it here,
Well, what we're really,
in my opinion.
But for instance, there are people on council that have a very strong feeling about STRs. How could that be fair for?
Elected people.
well,
You have a strong feeling apparently for them, so it's pretty fair, pretty balanced.
well, my concern is we hope that this appeal is never necessary, right? That, that the owners will take a vested interest in managing their properties. And, but Kendall, Ms. Tabbert did have a good, we do need to add in section N, about, you and I had talked about putting a process together whereby if a conviction occurs, right, that somebody actually pays their fine, which constitutes a conviction, then, and this is not the owner, but the guest, then we would have to have a process to notify the
Yes,
owner.
we have to determine what that process will look like. Yes.
Yeah, so that needs to be added under N, right? On,
Multiple ends.
Yeah.
I know, the one under, I don't
I know
have
which
page
one you
numbers
mean.
on my version. It is under short-term rental registration and application.
Is there a, there's a number, these pages are
Three,
numbered.
yeah, they are, hold on.
Page 3.
Four. Yeah, but it's page 5. In on page 5. The numbers are kind of a watermark, I had to put my,
About the short-term rental number shall be suspended by the city for
Yes.
6 months.
yes.
I have a question about this. Well, it says basically 3 or more citations issued on 3 separate occasions within 12 months. Does that mean it requires a total of 9 citations, 3 citations issued on 3 separate occasions, or is it 3 citations, any one of those issued on 3 separate occasions for a total of 3 separate within 12 months?
Yeah, I saw that too. Is that in the relocation?
That is, yeah, good catch.
No,
The language is just somewhat confusing.
Yeah, it's not
Yes.
right in another place too, where it says that, what was it?
Says 3 separate
So
locations.
it's 3
Three separate
citations
12 months.
on 3 separate, you can't go show up one time and get 3 citations.
Right.
So it has to be 3 citations that occur on 3 separate occasions.
So if we put in there,
That's what it says.
a total of 3 or more citations.
Yeah, maybe, so an issue, are issued on 3, so, yeah,
And on M, it says upon conviction of more than 3, it's supposed to be 3
Well,
or
I think,
more.
I think it was, the intention was 3 separate occasions. So say an owner has a really bad group that comes in, right?
It says 3
and-
convictions, so it could be separate instances.
And they get 3, it's not separate occasions, right? Or maybe it's, maybe separate occasion if they come 1 hour and then they come back another hour, that's a separate occasion, right?
but to,
It does need to be
McDermott's
clear.
point, you probably could say a total of 3 or more
Yes.
citations issued on 3 separate.
That will
Separate
clarify it.
Yes, yeah, that would be better language.
Say that again, please.
Not sure I can. A total of 3 or more citations resulting in convictions are issued on, 3
Total.
3 separate occasions.
On a total, right? On a total of 3 separate occasions, wasn't it?
No.
I think the first total is
Again, M should be.
I do know what you're saying, so we can clean that up.
But I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Rennick on M. It should say 3 or more, not more than 3, because then that's
Yes,
4.
right. That's 4, yeah. It should say,
3 or more.
yeah.
That's bad.
But we do need to, on N, right? It says, the city shall notify the owner of each conviction. So, one of the write-in comments was that we didn't have a process, but here it says that the city must notify the owner of each conviction. So if the city fails to do that, that would constitute,
Dismiss the ticket.
yes, I mean, it would dismiss the one, or two or three, yes. The city would have to show that they had notified. And one thing we wanted to talk about is, did everybody feel that an email notification per the email list provided on the application is adequate notification?
Ooh, may not be.
No, people don't read their timeline.
Kind of the onus is on them, right?
I mean,
I mean,
How
they
much do we have
provide-
to go to their house
May
and
have
tell
to be
them?
certified mail.
well, it'd have to be explicitly stated on when they get the permit that you need to pay attention to this email because you're going to have official communications from the city and, you
Yeah,
know,
and
not,
that's-
not viewing your email doesn't constitute, you know, us not reaching out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like email notification is adequate notification. But I guess that's also.
But they need to be made aware.
Yeah, we'd have to check with
I check with legal too.
on, and the prosecutor, right?
Yeah.
Is email notification adequate
In this case.
in this case?
It's the best way to keep the send log, you
It
send it
is.
with the read receipt,
It is.
doesn't mean they have to read it.
So who's doing this? Who's doing that part?
Well, it's gonna,
It'll be
the
the
city.
SDR clerk.
Okay.
Full-time STR.
Yeah, it's-
it'll be a combination of our municipal clerk having to
It's a.
track that,
Yes.
and then.
That's critical, so we don't have
Well,
that
that's right.
misstep.
That's right. And we've talked about how crucial that is. Hang on just a second. Pam, Mr. Brooke Dillman behind you had his rate.
Does the SDR permit have a notices section in it? If it has a notices section in it, you can state how people are noticed. And you can say notice is valid by email. If it's after 5 PM, it constitutes an email the next morning, those kind of things. So you can put that in your permit on how you notice other parties. And it also will tell them how they notice you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could add that in this ordinance, a notices section.
I put it in the permit.
Yeah.
The actual permit they signed to have an SDR, it's a contract basically, and then there it says, how do I notice, how does the city notice it, how do they notice?
Cities can't do a
it?
contract.
Huh?
Cities cannot do contract with private
I'm just saying it's
individuals.
similar to a contract.
Yes.
Like,
We could have it on the application form moving forward.
People change their emails or they say they never got the email.
Well, but in our ordinance, it states that you have 20 days to provide us a change of information on your application,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So that's in here and they acknowledge in the application that they agree to do that and provide that to us.
What happens if in that 20-day window, we send them an email that isn't correct?
Well, if we,
That's where you fall back on that notice.
on that notice
on
that
that
says
notice.
this is our form of communication. And under that notice, they would be, you know, then they need to get it to us sooner. Ms. Flores, you had a comment?
Yeah, it's Marisol 16613. Real quick, just on Alderman Jones, it is true, you can't be the police officer issuing the ticket and then be the jury, and then have the officer be the one that's going to be the appeals court.
We're not
Doesn't work
issuing.
that way, that's not
We're not
in,
issuing the
that's
ticket.
We're not
not
issuing
my
the ticket.
America. No, I'm talking about what you're saying that you get a citation, you come and you guys are the city that I gotta appeal to. You can't be the issuer, the police officer, and then the appeals. In my America, which is your America, it doesn't work that way,
Well,
right?
a lot of cities in your Texas are doing it that way.
Well, it's wrong. Nobody's around to tell them different, okay? I'm
Well,
here.
there is.
No, that's what you keep saying, but no, that's where you're wrong. Another one, the 4-6, the 2-4, the 2-2, the one you want. What I'm trying to say is that you already went through this, you've already gone through the hell of it. People were gonna sue you, people were going to go and force. You've made it through that stage. Enforce it.
Or we could change it and enforce it if that is.
Oh, when have you enforced anything?
We're getting started on it.
Well, you know, you haven't. You haven't.
Thank
No,
you.
you haven't. Now, with that said, and what he's saying about that, if you're going to do an email, it's got to be, that person has to receive it. That person will turn around and say, I did, and it's legit. Let me give you an example. There's a neighbor across the canal, keeps littering. His house is no longer there because of some story. He put a fence around it, okay, so he's protecting his property. They keep littering on his house, it's going into the water. There's an environmental police officer, you don't know that, there is one, okay, for Texas. You call it, what does he tell you? Oh no, we're gonna have to find the person that you've been telling me the address to. They're saying it's not their problem because they're not the ones dumping. I'm just saying, it just keeps going over and over. Okay. Send me pictures of who's dumping. Send me the license plate. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, look at how much crap you have to go through to get that police officer to do something by the law. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. So thank you.
Right, so we're gonna get some clarification on, how we notify. And I like the idea of notices being added onto the application. We'll have to add a portion of that into the ordinance.
You always have a read receipt on all these.
You can block
But
those
you
or
can block
comment.
that.
You don't have to, you don't have to.
You can block it. Yes, Ms. Johnson?
Pam Johnson, 4408 Elton Way. I guess, I just wanted to have y'all consider, now we're saying we're gonna notice somebody after they're convicted, but what about before? I mean, as soon as that happens, I would wanna know if I was in a, if somebody in my house got a ticket immediately.
So the minute the citation is
Yes.
issued,
Yes,
we should send notice that the citation was issued, and then send notice again
after.
when it resulted in a conviction.
Yes, so the most, because I think your people would want to know.
Yeah, I mean, as far as due process goes, for notification, I think that would be a good add.
There's not a ton of situations in life where you can just say, I didn't get the email, and whatever the problem is in spirits, it goes away. Like, you signed up for an email to be notified. If you don't check it, I'm sorry, but that's what you signed up for. If you had overdue payments in your car, they're emailing you, they're gonna come get your car, they're not gonna say, oh, well, you didn't get the email, here's another 6 months. Like, let's take some responsibility here. If you're gonna rent the house, give a good email and check it, Megan. It's not complicated.
Even a certified letter doesn't have to be picked up. You get those returned all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I know
But
people
they-
that
but they
pick
should-
pick up their mail once or twice a year.
Yeah, no, I think the notices section, both in this ordinance and in our application, because then when they do the application, they initial, right? All of these agreements,
Yeah.
to the permit, yes, ma'am.
We
You
can
know,
also put it in
just
the
like
portal,
what-
because when
excuse
we
me.
put it in the portal, it sends an email to the owner, and then we have it documented in the portal when it happened. And
Oh, you're talking about in the STR application itself?
Yes.
Yeah, and it would go out through the
It
portal.
goes out to the portal, so then it's documented.
That's right,
the
in one
system,
spot.
And it's going out in the email.
Yep.
I like Mr. Hellman's recommendation to put that on the application.
With
That's a great
notices.
idea.
What do we do in
20-day interim?
the 200 and some we've
Oh.
already issued?
Starts, somebody's screaming.
When we pass this,
Yes,
we
we
need
pass it down.
to let them all know that this has been passed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta send an
but
email.
we've said that we're gonna add that to their site, to their application that they've already filled out and completed.
We need to check with legal. I think if we put notice here in the ordinance and it passes, and then we send out an email notification to everybody, documenting the differences and the things, which we would need to do anyway, right? Here's the changes that are now going to apply to STRs. And then I check check with legal, but I think putting it here is enough. But then we'll just add it to the application for next year, but see if legal finds an issue with that.
We notify everyone of
Notify
them,
the
everyone with an email. And then ask them to reply to this email. Someone's just gonna have to verify and make sure that it's, check it off and say, this was sent this date, and it was replied to on this date that they received it.
Could it have an amendment to their permit, that they also just initial and send back?
Trying to think how complicated that is.
I don't know, but, I mean, I think we need to think about this collectively, because we made some substantial changes that are going to physically change all the permits, well, not all of them, but many of the permits that have already been issued, especially in regards to maximum occupancy.
We're not changing maximum
Well,
occupancy right now.
it sounds like we might, and,
Yep.
It's not on the
and-
agenda to discuss.
We're discussing.
The
But
entire
it's-
ordinance is on there, what it hasn't
But it's
discussed.
also,
Sorry, Mr.
but
Sorry.
but the limitation of, or the addition of, the first thing we talked about, adding that GCAD square, or GCAD living area that is not FEMA, approved, is going to change some of these applications that have already been approved.
No,
Uh,
no,
An
because
additional requirement.
we've actually been.
Have we, so we have corrected all of those that we've done?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because our flood mitigation ordinance has been in effect since
Yeah, but we
1971.
But we also told people last year that if you go get it added to GCAD, that we would include that in their square footage calculation.
Yeah, it was GCAD living area square footage, but then we got more clarity on our flood mitigation ordinance. So,
I think when we take 8 months to discuss an ordinance, there's gonna be a lot that happens while we're discussing it that is gonna cause headaches. There's no way around any of that. I don't know what the best solution to that is, other than maybe it starts next time, or maybe there's an amendment that gets sent out, for any adjustments that are included.
Yeah, it sounds reasonable, everything that we're talking about.
I know.
Just like the citation, you'll learn from that. I would check with legal on the whole scenario.
Try to get that graph.
And our guy, our person, we were,
Right, right.
It
No, we
is
do,
maybe something
we do
that-
need to figure out how to add
We're not
notice-
lawyers.
how to add notices, and,
yes,
and how do we,
that's it.
how do we enforce for the next 8 months until renewal time?
Mhm.
I think we're kind of
How do we
jumping
do
around
it?
this. Can we maybe just go through the changes to
Here you
make
go.
sure everyone's on the same page?
So,
I think we're under short-term rental registration and application section now.
oh, okay, I thought, you were gonna go all the way back.
Well, I had a couple comments on there about number 7 and 8 under that section. I think in the application, we should require a printed version of the GCAD square footage that they're saying that if they're turning that in for something, we should require it to be printed so that no one from city staff has to go Google the address and find it, figure it out.
How are
Print it
they
in the
going to
application.
submit it?
With the application. Is it agenda? We're supposed to do all the work for them?
But we don't have access to it.
Pam, do you have a comment?
I was just gonna say, we look it up every time, and we know it's, I kinda like the idea, but then,
Okay. Y'all are doing it.
we look it up every time, multiple times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's an
And then we
extra
know it's
step
the source.
the city has to do, but I'm not sure it's that much more complicated than opening it up in the portal either.
Is it something we could post on our website, the FEMA,
Well, what he's talking about is the GCAD, the parcel number and,
Yes.
you know,
Living
we,
area square footage.
our STR folks already go confirm all that on GCAD. So Brandon is suggesting that they have to upload a screenshot of, or print it out, of the GCAD document that shows, on the appraisal district, it shows you what the square footage is.
Right.
And then it also shows you the parcel number. And, right now, we just ask people to provide that number. We don't ask them to show proof of those.
Okay.
We verify it by looking it up.
We will also need construction bill.
And it's in GCAD.
It's in
Yeah,
GCAD.
But I mean, if you're gonna,
It would have-
it would have to be included on that
Yeah.
They
sheet.
have to, if we did that, they have to just do a PDF of it, and it's provided, you can do that easily on GCAD. And all that's in there, the bill, the date that the house was built, any additions, the date, all that's there.
In the portal, I mean, for renewal, if they have it in there, they wouldn't have to put it again, right? For renewal, unless something changed, right?
I hope not.
Or do we want them to date stamp it and do it every year?
I think every year, if you're adding on. It's not complicated, you just put
If
your
it
address
changes,
in and
only if
print
it
it out.
changes.
Yeah, only if it changes, I would think.
Yeah, if the information changes, then you have to update it. That should be the only thing you have to change it from year to year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with requiring people to screenshot that, but,
Can you update it to the portal? It's, I mean, it's hard enough to do a driver's license.
It's easy to add stuff, you just do an upload file, but
It's attachment.
but the owner can go in and do it at any time?
they can upload a file at any time during the application process. But I'm not saying we need to do this, I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Just like people.
Yes,
add
Marisol?
their LLC documents.
I want to, observation, I was trying to upload today and I couldn't upload anything. So, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I went,
a lot of people.
I had to register again, which wasn't a problem, but I'm trying to upload and I'm like, okay, so I go through every little icon. I would be able to start. Oh, I know, but I should be able to do it. So I
Okay.
went, and it was late, so.
We can keep.
My, Pam, unless you tell me differently, Brandon making them do that, I think it's gonna create more problems with people calling saying, I don't know how to do this, what do you want me to do? Versus the time it takes our clerk,
It's,
Just-
I have it open and it's
just,
very quick to me.
just to call it up and verify.
I just feel like we're saying they can't check their email, they don't know how to upload a document. I thought this was an adult process, so
Well,
it's really,
I'm just saying that the
I just
portal
think-
can be challenging, and
Yeah.
I think we will get more calls about issues with it than just us looking it up. I appreciate your ad to shorten
yeah,
our
I'll yield
time.
to her. She's doing it, she's no
I-
problem, no problem.
Kelly mentioned that in the time that we've been doing STR stuff, we've gone through 1, 2, 3, and now 4 employees trying to handle STR registrations and, I mean, it's hard for our employees too. To keep
Yeah.
trying to follow this process.
It is.
But I think it's real value in us verifying those ourselves.
Yeah,
I just think there is.
okay, all right, so to continue on,
Kendall, number 13, is the word real in the second line on the real property, is that the right word? Or should it be the rental, or should it be?
On the real property, on improved services. Yeah, I think the real property, I think that is correct terminology.
Yeah.
We should just say driveway.
Good.
115 for the warrant. Is there a cost to the city for getting that warrant?
Just time involved. So, yeah, it's just the clerk's time.
Just have to fill out a form and then pass it on to the judge.
Yep. You know, we talked about these other changes as far as late fees and, penalties for late that we didn't have before.
On short-term rental operations requirement, A9, says the location of off-site parking spaces for guests, overflow parking available at City Park or City Hall. Are we just allowing multi-day overnight parking at places?
Yeah, we do. For anybody. So, it's the same with
Can STRs
residents.
advertise this as bring all the cars you want, we'll park them at the park?
If they wanted to advertise that, yes, they could.
That goes back to our parking
I'm
ordinance.
missing something.
Come on down and get your car too.
Well, for instance, our
Don't we
police
have a book
department,
club?
our police department's been real good about, for instance, because last summer, there was a closed-in, vehicle that had been left at the park for 3 days. And I saw it that was there, another neighbor saw it, and it just been left there for 3 days. And the police went in, investigated, and figured out whose it was, and, you know, it was, they were just keeping it there, it wasn't, you know.
Yes.
So it's not like anything nefarious is always gonna be going on at the park for parking.
I agree, we're trying to cut down on party houses, and I feel like saying, if you can't fit in the driveway, come park in our park, is the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. Maybe we should charge for it, they're gonna advertise it, you can buy spaces at the park, your driveway.
Keep up with our beautification projects.
Yeah.
Well, we have to have the same laws for this person as for this person. So, I mean, if my neighbor's gonna hold a Christmas party and they wanna park at the park, it's the same idea. So-
I think the issue here is, do we want this to have to be included on the certificate, right? Cause this is saying what's their, you know, do we need
Say
to
the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
require them to notify?
Because we're talking about overnight parking. We're not talking about.
Anytime,
Or anytime.
anytime, it's not just overnight.
As I see on
parking.
12, there's a maximum number of on-site parking spaces, so then I think at that point, okay, you're done. I don't think they should have to go find other city areas to park. That ties it back to our parking ordinance that we're discussing earlier.
Mhm.
So I think we need to stick to 12 and that be it.
I'm sorry, where's number 12? I'm looking at
On page 4,
You have to go up.
page 4.
We jumped between
Fixed
the
what?
application and the certificate.
Under short-term rental registration application, section A.
Okay,
It says maximum number of on-site parking spaces.
I think that that's what should be advertised and not advertise our park where kids play and people come to.
So we
pool.
can take 9, off of there,
Yeah, we can remove that.
huh?
Yes, that can be removed.
Yeah. Okay, so moving forward,
So there's 3 convictions, right, in
We're
So-
gonna clean up that language.
Okay, but the question is, 3 convictions, and that's a suspension, correct?
Correct.
Now, what if there's 6 convictions?
Oh, in that same time,
Yeah, if you have a 12-month period and you have 3 convictions, or let's say that there's 10 violations because it goes over a couple of weekends, well, then there's 3 convictions, and then, okay, they're suspended, but then those other additional violations become
There's-
convictions.
so what you're talking about is, we have something happen, and 3 weekends in a row, this house gets cited.
Mhm.
And we know it takes a month typically, unless somebody immediately just pays the fine and takes care of it. Between a court date, et cetera, it can take, 4 to 8 weeks to actually, a citation turn into a conviction.
Right.
And what you're saying is, in that time period before a citation turns into a conviction, we could have had 9 citations. Well, I still think it's upon the first 3 convictions, it's a suspension.
Okay.
And,
So if there's 6 convictions, then it should be revocation, in my opinion. I mean, the whole point of this is to keep things in line. I mean, you know, getting into this panel and review process and all that stuff shouldn't even happen. It's a deterrent. It's to keep peace in the neighborhood. You know,
Bingo.
let's just face facts here. I could give a rat's butt about taking people's business away. I want to be able to drive through the neighborhood and have it indistinguishable between a full-time, part-time, or STR.
Cause we live here too, people that want to live in a
Yeah.
peaceful environment.
So-
all right, so how could we possibly,
We should change 3 suspensions to 2 suspensions.
Yeah.
If you're a multiple offender that much, why are we giving 3 chances to keep multiple offending? That's on in as well, very last word.
And all the stirring up and biting back is really not very helpful. It just makes it worse.
okay, so we wanna change,
That is,
Letter O.
Letter O, yes.
oh. Right, would
so you
add
wanna,
to that.
following 2 suspensions?
I think so, that's pretty egregious that you've already been suspended
Yeah.
twice.
Oh, I think we need to leave it at 3, and then they still have the appeals process. They still have, they can't use it permanently, they leave it at 3. If 2 is plenty warning, you give your children 3 warnings.
These aren't our children, these are people that have disrupted our neighborhood at least 9 times.
No, these are not those people. About 300 of these people are trying to follow the laws or these regulations that we're telling them to. There's a handful that are not following.
But-
You don't live
But
next
the
to
other,
it.
but the other thing is, I mean, I'm hearing consensus that two
Two.
suspensions, and there is still an appeal process.
Cause to me, the
Right.
first suspension's bad enough.
Terrible.
The first suspension's bad enough because they've already gone through N.
Yeah.
Come on, that's like,
To me, that's not a responsible owner. That's
No.
getting 2
If they- if
suspensions.
they've
Give me a
made-
break.
I
It's not a
agree.
responsible owner that gets 1.
that if they've made it through N with all of these other citations, and now we can give them 3 suspensions, I'm thinking, well, I think we're being generous with 2. Because to me, what's too many?
Okay, I'm okay with changing that to 2.
I disagree.
I know.
We're dealing with people that have invested a lot of money in their homes, and they're renting them out now, they should be responsible, and we shouldn't have to go through so much red tape just to make sure people follow the rules. Just follow the rules, all the rules. There's no, we'll let you do it, we'll let you have, and then you can. Let's just make this solid, follow the rules, and get it going.
No more book club for you.
I'm a rule follower, I'm an HR person, I follow the rules.
To Mayor Pro Tem's comment about multiple violations. So this says over a 12-month period. So if 3 violations occur over the first couple of months, and then you get 3 more, that 12-month periods would restart, wouldn't it?
Right, if you get the 3, right, and you get suspended, then your 12-month period would start again. Right?
That's what I'm saying, that you could get 6 violations, and as soon as you're off suspension, be on suspension again, theoretically.
Right.
Just a question.
Yes,
If you're suspended, and you say you're suspended in November, can you renew your permit?
Yeah, because you're gonna come off suspension.
Just,
Yeah, you can renew it and you need to renew it.
I mean.
You're just on suspension.
But I was just trying to see, cause it's a rolling 12 months.
From.
Yes, it is.
From,
Yeah.
yes.
From the first citation, that sets your clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get 2 more within 12 months, you'll be suspended.
Not in the calendar year, but from that.
It's a rolling, yeah, from the time you get your first citation, that sets day 1 of that 12-month period.
Yeah, and that needs to be clear,
Yeah.
Okay.
cause I understand what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
and I do understand, what language do we need to add? Because if you do get I mean, what about the person that gets 6 citations within, but they're not turned into convictions yet?
Yeah. And he gets 6 citations within the same time frame. That's probably,
Do we,
They gotta be proven guilty. You can't,
yeah.
well, that's the conviction, right? And
It has to
we
be
do-
conviction.
Yeah, we just say convictions. Okay, well, we'll work on that language a little bit. I mean, I think we have to,
I think you have to never go with this.
well, part of the other issue here is we could say, I mean, if we have a really bad actor like that, do we come in and say, if you get 9 citations within 9 citations that turn into a conviction, it's, you know, following a suspension if there's more,
Well, then there's
They're-
still the
they're additive.
appeal process, so they could at least, even a murderer gets an appeal.
yeah,
Right.
there is an appeal process. I'm just trying to, based on the frequency of citations, I'm not sure getting that many right in a row. In my heart, I believe most of the people, once they're notified that a guest got their first citation and they recognize that they could be suspended, I think they'll put in DB alarms. I think they'll scrutinize their guests a little better. They'll put some control in place that prevents more. I mean, if I wanted to run a business, I would. So, if they recognize that this is an option, and maybe it's wishful thinking, but I think we cross that bridge when we get there, if we get a home that's getting that many citations in
And
that time period.
How soon are owners gonna be given the notice for the citation? How soon?
Probably within 3-4 days of the citation being issued.
So the bad actor could have already left, and they could never had a chance to fix the situation. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
but they get
haven't notified.
they get multiple times before they're suspended, right? So they get notice that this person got a citation, right? And then a conscientious rental company, rental entity will enact those changes. Because they're not gonna wanna be suspended.
I agree with that. And then leave it to
And-
suspensions.
And my experience with the rentals around me is, it's about a 1 in 4 that, you know, the parties might potentially create a problem. 3 and 4, you know, my gosh, they're just great. So, I don't think we're gonna run into a situation where they get 6 or 7 citations within a time period and then it rolls over.
So Kendall, can you notify the owners by Monday or Tuesday? Are you gonna be able to?
I mean, if a citation is issued, what's a reasonable time frame? Huh?
I'd say right.
Yeah,
An email.
yeah, if we agree that the notification is by email, then the police officer writing the citation flags it as, you know, at an STR.
Do we have a
following this
process to go
guideline.
from the police officer to Kendall to the STR person to send the email?
We will, we don't yet because this has not been passed. But yes, the process will have to be worked where the police officer writes the ticket and then that checkbox, that if this is at an STR, then it goes to the STR clerk who then will notify the owner.
And how many days, because, you know, the owners have rights too, so they will be notified within 3 days or 5 days, or?
I think it's probably within 5 business days, they'll be notified.
I think we take, that in and run it through ChatGPT and see how it spits it out. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, good idea.
Because it's not written, it's not, and no offense, but it's not written very well. So I think ChatGPT might be able to help us out.
Actually, ChatGPT wrote that.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Sitting there with Mary.
Are you serious? I'm thinking, I thought this might be Copilot that read this, not ChatGPT.
We made this change on the fly.
Yeah,
Well, we might have run it, we gotta run it through again.
Yeah, we'll run it through legally.
And can we add this, if the owners will be notified within 5 business days?
Yes, we kind of left it here, the city shall notify the owner, for us to have an agreement on what that time frame needed to be.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Something else to note, the addition of the penal code. And, we also, yet to be determined noise ordinance. But I will point out the penal code also has noise ordinance in it. And so, that's something we need to discuss, you know, I mean, if we change, whatever our noise ordinance turns out to be.
Right.
If we need to check it against what the penal code says. The penal code, I think, is 85 decibels.
It is.
And then, 9904 is essentially trespassing.
Yes.
And so we've added those two, because originally it was just noise that
Noise.
we were going to.
Right, issue citations against.
But
then
we added the penal code and then
Yes.
trespassing.
So, the question I have on this end, is it is this for violations of the short-term rental ordinance, like maximum occupancy? If this
No,
is just
that's
noise?
under N. So
Oh.
there's 2 different methods you can be suspended for.
Okay, sorry.
3 administrative violations
Okay.
would constitute a suspension.
Okay.
And they're not additive, right? We could change it to additive, that 3 convictions of anything, be it administrative or a guest at the property. But I've kind of separated them because that's kind of 2 different, you know, one is the owner just not doing the administrative stuff, and they can get suspended for that. The second is the owner not providing enough oversight, and they can
Sorry, I
get
didn't
suspended
see-
for that.
I didn't see that.
And, yeah, because that was in there last time,
Okay.
so it's not a change. All right, the next thing. Kendall, where's that single number per address? One short term will be issue per property. That's in there all by itself on page 3. And we were gonna add that that's not going to be enforceable. That's not gonna go into effect until January 1 of next year. If we have houses that they were bought under a certain premise, and they might need to replat, they need to actually go take the steps to get a separate address. And this would give them time to do that.
How many houses do you have that problem?
Right now, there's only one that we're aware of that has 2 properties with 1 address. And they historically have had 2 registrations and 2 permit numbers. So they rent them as individual properties. But the reason for having this in there is we wanna make sure that people don't start renting out upper and lower, approved levels, grandfathered levels. And also we wanna make sure that nowhere in the future can someone come into one of our larger land lots and put 2 little houses on it, right? And then rent it out as 3. So I realize that we don't have that issue now. We're trying to make sure we have extra basis for not allowing it. To make sure everybody understands that you have to have an individual address associated with a permit number. You can't have 3 separate listings on 1 address. On 1 lot. But we recognize that.
There's never been an ordinance that covers that topic problem, or?
Well, the problem with that is our zoning ordinance has been lackadaisically enforced.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Can that, since it's 1 house, can that be grandfathered, since it's only 1? Over the last 9, 10 years?
Well,
It's your house, correct?
the grandfathering gets into, grandfathering typically is for when something was done under a certain set of codes or standards. And then it's allowed to continue that way when a different set of codes and standards is in force. In this instance, our zoning ordinance has always said you can only have 1 house on 1 lot with 1 address, that it was lackadaisically enforced. So, it's not like we're grandfathering something that was actually ordained at one time. Okay, so are there any, we've noted what we need to adjust.
I just wanna make sure that on page 6 that are we taking off 9, the location of on-site parking spaces?
Yes.
Thank you, okay, good. But we're leaving 8, to make sure they indicate in writing the number of on-site. Okay.
All right,
Oh, I have one last thing that's mostly just informational to make sure council is aware, in case we want to revisit it, but the Broncos won a lawsuit for doing a cap on STRs.
no ban.
No ban. We met with the lawyer that won that lawsuit. He thinks Jamaica Beach has got the same argument that stood up in court with him. Even if we were to designate the south side 3005 as exempt from the cap. So if we want to revisit the cap while we're talking about this, there is now precedent that says that it is enforceable. We do have the discretion to do with it as we want, and,
What city is this?
New
Braunfels.
Braunfels. And they did, it's under appeal,
It's under appeal.
but the lower court did rule in favor of the city, that their ban had justifiable basis to be supported. And the ban was in their area zoned, I mean, they have, New Brunswick is bigger than us. So the ban was on areas zoned as residential. So other zoned areas have different rules and different special use permits they can go get, but it was upheld in their zoned residential areas.
What was the numbers that you were given? What's the total population, the number of STRs that they capped it at?
I had that at one time, but I don't have it today. I'm just
I
doing
didn't
no
think it was a
future.
cap,
Right.
it's a ban, anymore, moving forward, it's not a cap.
Oh, it's an out and out ban, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Not going retroactive,
Right.
if they currently have a special use permit, and New Brunswick does it a little different. I mean, you actually have to go to planning and zoning and get a special use permit that allows you to operate a short-term rental in a residential area. So they have banned any more special use permits in a residential area.
You also said the idea that some people have sent to me of like a radius ban where there's an STR on their street, there
Yeah.
cannot be another one within
Yeah.
200 feet or something, so that keeps entire streets from becoming short-term rentals, which kind of, in my opinion, even more so locks in a neighborhood feel than just a cap per se. But those are options that are winning in court now that I think are worth at least.
The other option that I have not run my legal yet, that I've been playing around with, is that, I mean, what we're trying to do is to keep our rental properties being owned and managed by people who are invested in the community and care about the community, right? And, one option, you're gonna have to run it by legal, is to say, what if you have to own your home for a year before you're allowed to apply for a permit? And then that indicates a desire to be committed and invested in this neighborhood, before it becomes a rental. Now, I don't know, I've not run that by legal, but as I run through the challenges of us all living harmoniously in our happy place with Sandy Feet, you know, what do we really want? We want owners that are invested in this community, like those of us that live here and come here routinely are invested. So, is there any desire to pursue that option more legally? Because I don't know if that, nobody else does it that I know of. I don't know if that's.
I don't think we want to be the front runner in the courts, but I think we can piggyback on others, makes it a more viable option.
But
Okay.
that's pivotal though about New Braunfels,
interesting.
because that's a tourist town for sure. I mean, I took my kids there when they were little, and we had a lot of fun, but that helps people want to live there. People want to live in New Braunfels, people want to live in Key West, you know, and I mean, these destination towns, and so it's very helpful to know.
All right,
All right,
well, I
we done?
think that concludes our conversation on the ordinance at this point, right? And we are on to the mayor's report.
So, is it right, we're gonna vote on this next go around?
It probably still won't be, we can put discussion and approval, right, for next time, but recognizing that it might not. We still might have enough discussion that it needs to go one more round. But we can put discussion and approval for next time.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
I'm tired of.
kicking it down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, on my report, on April 5th, here at City Hall, there will be a all candidate meet and greet from 10 to 12 in the morning, and
When is it, so?
April 5th, from 10 to 12. And on the,
Where's it gonna be?
here at City Hall, in the fire station day.
Is there a format?
Is there only gonna be one?
Huh?
Is there only gonna be one? Cause I work that day.
We'll video it. And the candidates are still agreeing to the platform, but Donna Williams with the Lions Club is gonna facilitate the meet and greet.
She's awesome. That's good. Good idea.
Okay, that's all that. Oh, also, I know some of you have been trying to reach out to Centerpoint to get your trees taken care of. Please be persistent. 2 were taken down on Sandpiper today, so I know Centerpoint is responding. Just keep calling the number with Mr. Joseph Green and, Reed. And, he will get back to you and they'll get it scheduled. So, like I said, I know they were out and 2 got taken down today. And then I know that Melissa talked about it, May 24th is gonna be our 50th anniversary celebration. On May 12th is when the citizens of Jamaica Beach, or the judge, actually approved the vote for the city to become a city. And so May 12th is the date, but because we already have our big Memorial Day celebration, having 2 big celebrations back to back was gonna be difficult to manage. Plus it was Mother's Day if we actually did it closer to that date. So we decided to combine it on May 24th. So the city's working really hard. It's gonna be great. Like I said, events will be starting on the Friday night before. A lot of great things going on. So please put on your calendars to come out for the combination Memorial Day celebration and anniversary celebration. And, all right, and that's all I have. All right, so do I have a motion to adjourn into executive session?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? All right.
Step out for a minute.
Oh, did I have a second?
No, Brandon.
Oh,
Brandon
yeah, I
seconded.